There's always that one man in the room. You know the one I'm talking about? He's not loud, not showy, not trying to impress. But the second he enters, something shifts. The air tightens. Other men fidget. Women glance. Everyone feels a little more aware of themselves. And they can't quite explain why. He's not the richest guy there. He's not the biggest either. Yet somehow, his presence makes everyone feel exposed. What is it about this man? He doesn't look at women the way others do. His eyes don't linger. His words don't chase. He doesn't flirt for attention or seek validation from every skirt that walks by. He's not distracted by lust. And that's exactly why he's dangerous. Now, picture this. You're on your phone, scrolling, just passing the time, right? But 20 minutes go by, and your heart's racing. You're sweating. Your thoughts are scattered. You close the app, but a few minutes later, you're right back at it. You whisper, "Just this one last time." You lie to yourself again. This is it. But it never is. When did your eyes become your master? When did lust start pulling the strings? You wake up thinking about it. You go to bed thinking about it. You spend money because of it. You make decisions around it. You ruin relationships for it. And here's the worst part. Most men don't even realize they're trapped. But there are some who do. Some who wake up and say, "No more." And those men, they terrify the world. Because lust isn't just about desire. It's not just sex. Lust is a system. It's a tool, a weapon used to control you. Every ad, every song, every flashy influencer, it's all designed to poke that same nerve. Keep your lust alive. Keep you hungry. Why? Because a man ruled by lust is a man who can be sold to. He'll spend on porn even if it's free. He'll buy overpriced clothes, expensive cologne, swipe endlessly on dating apps, all to feel wanted, all to feed the hunger. But the hunger never ends. A lustful man will destroy his future for a fleeting moment. He's easy to control, easy to predict, easy to profit from. But the man who sees the game and refuses to play, he's dangerous. He doesn't follow the influencers. He doesn't consume the fantasy. He doesn't beg for attention or chase approval. And when the people who run the system realize they can't hook him, they panic. Because lust isn't just addictive, it's the addiction no one wants to admit. It's more addictive than alcohol because it's legal, more destructive than drugs because it's praised, more common than gambling because it's everywhere. And the world, it cheers it on, calls it being a man, says it's just nature. But is it? What if the most masculine thing you could do was to say no? What if real power isn't about how many people want you, but about how few can control you? Think of the men you admire, the greats, the ones who built, who led, who created. None of them were ruled by lust. They didn't waste their minds chasing meaningless pleasure. They didn't drain their energy scrolling through fantasies. They conquered themselves. They said no to what most men bow to. And here's the wild part. Society never praises them for it. It praises them in spite of it. Because deep down, society needs you weak. It needs you distracted. It needs you drooling over the next cheap thrill. But there comes a moment, a quiet, devastating moment that changes everything. Let's say there's a man. Call him David. It's a Tuesday afternoon. He's in his office, meant to be working, but instead, he's lost in fantasy. Again, he's tired, unmotivated, frustrated with himself. And suddenly, it clicks. Lust isn't giving him power. It's stealing it. That's when the switch flips. He sees the chains, he sees the scam. And for the first time, he's done. Not just done with the act, but with the mindset, the belief that he needs it. And in that moment, he becomes dangerous. So, what actually happens when a man breaks free from lust? First, his mind clears. That constant fog, the mental noise, the overstimulation, it fades. For the first time in years, he can think clearly. Problems that once felt overwhelming now seem simple. Decisions that used to torment him become obvious. His vision sharpens, not just literally, but in life. He sees where he's going. He sees who he is. Then comes the energy. The same energy he used to waste chasing temporary highs now flows into real goals. He starts working out, not to impress, but to build. He focuses on his business, his craft, his calling, not for attention, but for purpose. He creates instead of consumes, builds instead of begs, leads instead of follows. And that confidence, it's different now. It's not loud. It's not theatrical. It's not about getting compliments or likes. It's a quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you control yourself. That no urge, no ad, no temptation, no person has power over you. That kind of confidence, you can't fake it. You can't buy it. And when people sense it, they either respect it or they fear it. But here's where things get real. The moment society sees that this man is no longer controlled, it launches a war against him. Not a physical war, a psychological one, a cultural one. They mock him, call him repressed, call him weird, call him less of a man. Why? Because he's proof that the game is rigged. He's proof that self-control is possible, that freedom is possible, that all their excuses are lies. His peace makes their chaos look loud. His strength makes their weakness obvious. His clarity makes their distractions seem pathetic. And so, they have to attack. They offer him temptations, trying to get him to crack. They bait him with attention, with fake admiration, with seductive praise. And when that fails, they get nasty. They question his sexuality. They insult his mental health. They twist his image to make themselves feel better. But it's not really about him. It's about them. Because if he's right, then they're wrong. And that's too painful to admit. Now let's take it a level deeper. This isn't just psychological, it's economic. A man controlled by lust is a man who spends. He buys dating app subscriptions, he tips at strip clubs, he pays for OnlyFans. He chases the image of attraction with expensive clothes, cologne, gym memberships, cars. He finances everything that promises sex, even if it leaves him broke and empty. Now multiply that by millions of men. You've got entire industries, billion-dollar empires, built on the backs of male lust. The moment one man breaks free, they lose a customer. The moment 1,000 do, they feel the quake. The moment a generation does, those empires collapse. But here's the kicker. The impact goes even further. It affects how men relate to women. When he's no longer ruled by lust, he sees women differently, not as trophies, not as dopamine triggers, not as something to chase, but as people, humans. With value beyond attraction, he no longer needs their validation, so he no longer chases it. He doesn't try to impress, doesn't try to manipulate, doesn't play games. And that changes everything. Because women aren't used to it. They're used to men chasing, begging, trying too hard. But this man, he's different. Calm, grounded, confident without being needy, powerful without being pushy. And that creates a whole new kind of attraction. One that doesn't come from hunger, but from wholeness. But not everyone celebrates that. Other men, they get nervous. Their whole strategy falls apart. The flexing, the flirting, the faking, it doesn't work anymore. They can't compete with a man who doesn't need what they're addicted to. So, what do? They attack, they mock, they call him fake, they try to drag him down to their level. Because if he's right, then they've been wasting their lives. And now, we arrive at the deepest layer, the spiritual war. Lust isn't just a physical craving, it's a spiritual force. It wants to own you, to take your focus, your time, your soul. Every time you give in, you're not just losing discipline, you're giving up territory, you're surrendering ground in your own soul. But when you say no, when you stand your ground, that's war. And make no mistake, the enemy fights back. It whispers thoughts. It throws temptations at you. It surrounds you with triggers. It uses people to test your resolve. It hits your mind, your body, your emotions, because it knows. If you win this war, you're no longer a slave. You're free. You're untouchable. But freedom has a cost. That's what nobody tells you. When you finally break the chains, when you finally rise above the noise, you look around and realize how few are up there with you. The mountaintop is quiet. The air is thinner. The crowd, gone. And in that silence, you discover something brutal but beautiful. You've outgrown the world that once enslaved you. Your conversations change. The jokes your friends laugh at don't hit the same. The things they obsess over, hookups, likes, cheap thrills, they don't excite you. You watch men you once respected grovel for attention. You see them trade their peace for a fleeting touch. You see them wreck their futures for validation that never lasts. And you can't unsee it. You can't go back to being blind. Once you've tasted the stillness that comes from self-control, you'll never want chaos again. Once you've stood tall, you'll never want to kneel again. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, you'll feel like an outsider. But that solitude, that separation, that's where you find your true power. That's where you meet the real you, the version of you that doesn't need anything but purpose. And here's where the revolution begins. It only takes one man who stops scrolling, one man who stops chasing, one man who stops begging and starts building. That man becomes a signal, a ripple, and other men begin to notice. They see the peace, they feel the gravity. They wonder, what is he doing differently? And slowly, one by one, they start waking up. They start questioning the narrative. They stop believing that lust equals strength. They stop mistaking obsession for masculinity. They start choosing clarity over chaos. And as more men rise, the systems built to control them begin to fall. The industries that profited from their hunger begin to starve. The culture that fed on their addiction begins to collapse. This is why the world fears the man who refuses to bow. Not because he's loud, not because he's violent, but because his self-control exposes their lies. His discipline is a mirror, and most people can't stand their own reflection. So ask yourself something. Really ask it. Are you free, or are you pretending to be? Are you in control, or is lust quietly pulling your strings? How much of your life, your time, your money, your mind is spent chasing a feeling that never lasts? Look at your phone habits. Look at your energy levels. Look at your relationships. Are they thriving, or are they draining you? Because here's the truth. You can't serve two masters. You either own your desires or they own you. And if you're tired of being a slave, if you're ready to walk a different path, then here's your next move. For the next 30 days, take the challenge. No lust. Not just in action, but in thought. Not just in what you do, but in what you believe. When the urges hit, breathe. When temptation knocks, walk away. When the thoughts sneak in, replace them with purpose. Focus your energy. Redirect your fire. Watch what happens to your clarity, your focus, your strength. Track your progress. Notice how much more you accomplish, how much more peace you feel, how much more powerful you become. Because this isn't just about quitting a habit. This is about reclaiming your power, rebuilding your mind, redefining what it means to be a man. And here's the twist. When you stop chasing, you become the one they chase. When you stop begging for validation, people seek yours. When you stop being desperate, you become dangerous. Not dangerous in a way that harms others, but in a way that can't be controlled. Society fears that kind of man. But secretly, it envies him too. So, this is your moment. Not tomorrow, not when it's easier. Now. Decide. Draw the line. Refuse to bow. Become the man who sees through the lie. Become the man who lives above it. Become the man who's no longer distracted, no longer desperate, no longer disposable. The world doesn't need more men who follow. It needs more who can lead. And real leaders don't serve lust. They conquer it. If you felt this in your chest, if something shifted while you listened, then don't let it fade. This is your moment to rise, your time to choose. Because in a world full of men who kneel, you're the one who stands.